never thought my story would end up like this. They say life changes in an instant, but they never tell you how quiet that instant feels. Mine happened in a room full of balloons, pastel cupcakes, and fake smiles. It was my baby shower. The kind of day little girls dream about, surrounded by friends, gifts, laughter, and the promise of a perfect future. Except, mine came wrapped in betrayal, tied with a ribbon of lies. I was 7 months pregnant, glowing, exhausted, and a little emotional. My husband, Carter, stood beside me, wearing his usual calm smile. We'd been married for 3 years. High school sweethearts, turned forever partners, or so I believed. Everyone said we were the couple. The kind that looked perfect in Christmas cards. But the thing about perfection? Sometimes it's just a mask people wear until it cracks. The living room was decorated in soft peach and ivory tones. My sister-in-law, Jenna, had gone all out. She was in charge of everything, the cake, the guest list, even the playlist. I trusted her with everything. That trust would nearly destroy me as I opened the gifts, blankets, tiny socks, pacifiers. Carter kept looking around, distracted. I assumed he was just overwhelmed. But then I reached for a medium-sized box wrapped in deep blue paper with gold trim. Something about it felt different. I smiled politely, reading the card aloud. It just said, "For the baby. With love." No name. People murmured, curious. A few chuckled. And then I saw Carter's expression shift. He leaned in slowly, and with a voice I'd never heard him use before, cold, low, and scared, he whispered, "Who gave you this?" My hand froze. The whole room faded. The laughter, the music, the chatter, it all turned to static. I looked at him, confused. "What?" I whispered back. He didn't blink. He stared at the gift like it was a bomb. I said, "Who gave you this box?" And then something snapped inside me. A deep instinct. Like a thread had been pulled too tight and finally broke, because in that moment, I knew Carter was hiding something, and that box, that was the beginning of everything. I looked at Carter, my heart pounding louder than the party music in the background. "Why do you care who gave it to me?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the gift like it had claws. I saw something flash across his face, panic, maybe? Or recognition. It was hard to tell. But whatever it was, it wasn't good. He grabbed my wrist gently but firmly. "Don't open it. Not here." Now everyone around us was watching, pretending not to. I laughed awkwardly and said, "Okay, we'll open that one later," and placed the box behind the couch like it was no big deal, but it was a big deal. The rest of the shower passed in a haze. I smiled, posed for pictures, thanked everyone for their love and support. But in the back of my mind, all I could hear was Carter's whisper, "Who gave you this?" When the last guest left, I turned to him. "All right. Tell me what that was about." He rubbed his forehead and said, "I just didn't recognize the gift. It felt off." "Off?" I scoffed. "What does that even mean? You looked like you'd seen a ghost." He didn't answer. He just kept pacing, hands on his hips, avoiding eye contact. And I knew then, he knew exactly where that gift came from. So after he went to bed that night, I snuck back into the living room, pulled the box out from behind the couch, and opened it. Inside was a tiny silver rattle, with initials engraved on it. Not my baby's initials. Not Carter's. Not mine, just 2 letters, L.H. and a folded piece of paper taped underneath. I unfolded it, hands trembling. "It said you lied. Now she'll know everything." I sat there frozen, the rattle clutched in my hand. I didn't know who L.H. was. I didn't know what Carter had lied about. But I knew one thing for sure: someone had just declared war on my marriage. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there next to Carter, staring at the ceiling, the rattle, and the note hidden under my pillow like some kind of cursed secret. At 4 a.m., I got up quietly and went to the kitchen. I pulled the note back out, read it again. "You lied. Now she'll know everything." Who the hell was it? She? Me? The baby? Someone else? And who was LH? I decided to start with the obvious. I grabbed my laptop and searched Carter's social media, something I hadn't done in years. We'd been together for 5 years, married for 2. I trusted him. Or I scrolled through his old tagged photos, searching for anything that might connect the dots, and then I saw it that a post from 6 years ago. Long before we met, Carter was smiling in the picture, his arm around a woman with dark hair and piercing green eyes. She was stunning. The caption read, "Happy Anniversary, L." I clicked on her profile. Lauren Henderson. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. I clicked on her profile photo. It was blurry, but she was holding a baby. A little boy, maybe 2 or 3 years old. Her bio: survivor, fighter, mom. I nearly dropped the laptop. Why had Carter never mentioned her? Why did he look so happy with her in that photo? And more importantly, why the hell was she sending cryptic gifts to my baby shower? I couldn't wait. I woke Carter up. I didn't ease into it. Who is Lauren Henderson? He blinked a few times. Then sat up slowly. What? You heard me. He hesitated. Then sighed. We used to date. A long time ago. That's it? I snapped. You were in love with her. You called her L. And now she's sending me gifts like some psycho ex-girlfriend? He went quiet again. Too quiet. Did you cheat on me? I asked. No, he said quickly. No. I swear. Is that your kid in her profile photo? He looked like he'd been punched in the face. That's when I knew. He didn't have to say a word. That child was his, and just like that, my whole world shattered. I stood there, staring at Carter like he was a complete stranger. You have a child? My voice cracked. With her? He didn't deny it. He just looked down and whispered. I didn't know for sure until recently. I felt dizzy. What the hell does that mean? Carter ran a hand through his hair, clearly unraveling. Lauren and I were together years ago. Things got messy, and she disappeared. I tried to reach out after we broke up, but she ghosted me. Then 2 months ago, she showed up out of nowhere. Said the boy might be mine. I just stood there, numb. And you didn't tell me? I choked. I was going to. I just needed time. I didn't want to ruin this. He gestured around. Like our life together was still intact. You already did. I backed away. You lied to me. Over and over again. He followed me into the living room. I didn't lie. I panicked. She dropped a bomb on me. I didn't want to believe. It was true. But it was true, I snapped. And now she's showing up at my baby shower like a damn ghost from the past, leaving creepy notes and rattles like this is some horror movie? Carter looked genuinely confused. Wait, what? What note? I shoved the paper at him. He read it, and his face went pale. You didn't write this? I asked. No, he said quickly. This isn't from Lauren. She wouldn't. How do you know what she would or wouldn't do? You don't even know her anymore. I was shouting now, shaking, my stomach twisting with stress and betrayal. He tried to grab my hand. I pulled away. You kept this from me. You let me plan a life with you, start a family with you, without ever mentioning your other child. Tears welled up in his eyes. I didn't want to lose you. But you already did, Carter. I left. I grabbed my coat, my phone, and drove to my sister's place without looking back. I needed air. I needed space. I needed answers. Because something about all this felt off. The gift. The note. The timing. It wasn't just betrayal. It was orchestrated. And I was going to find out who was behind it, even if it tore my entire life apart. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay on the guest bed in my sister Emily's house, staring at the ceiling while my unborn daughter kicked inside me, as if she could feel the chaos too. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done before. I stalked Lauren. I had her full name from the RSVP list Carter had tried to hide. And with a little help from Emily, who was practically a private investigator when it came to social media, I found Lauren's Instagram, Facebook, and even an old LinkedIn profile. She'd moved back into town 4 months ago, right around the time Carter said she reappeared in his life. Her online posts showed a life that looked curated. Too perfect. Professional headshots, filtered selfies, inspirational quotes. But then there was a photo from a month ago, a blurry picture of a little boy holding a teddy bear, standing outside what looked like a women's shelter. My heart dropped. Emily leaned over my shoulder. Is that her kid? I think so, I whispered. But why would she be staying at a shelter? Emily narrowed her eyes. Because she's not who she pretends to be. I drove to the address tagged in one of Lauren's posts. A small apartment complex near the edge of town. Everything in me screamed not to do this, but I had to note. I knocked on the door. Lauren answered in leggings, messy hair, and a half-open robe. Her eyes went wide. You shouldn't be here, she hissed, glancing around. I held up the rattle. Was this you? She stared at it. And then, the most chilling thing happened as she laughed. Of course it was me, she said like it was obvious. You needed to know. Know what, exactly? I snapped. That my fiancé has a secret kid? That he's been lying to me. 4 months? No, she said, stepping closer, her voice low. You needed to know what kind of man Carter really is. My stomach turned. What do you mean? She hesitated. Then walked back inside, leaving the door open behind her. I followed. Her apartment was small and dim. Toys scattered on the floor. Dishes piled in the sink. On the coffee table, a thick manila folder. She pushed it toward me. Go ahead, she said. Inside were photos. Documents. Emails. Some printed, some handwritten. Hospital bills. DNA test requests. A police report. My hands trembled. What is all this? Lauren crossed her arms. Proof. Of what he did to me. And what he almost did to our son. I looked up at her, and that's when she said it. He didn't just lie to you. He abandoned us. Asterisk. I drove back in silence. The folder Lauren gave me sat on the passenger seat like it was radioactive. I didn't even need to open it again. Every word, every detail, every photo was burned into my brain. Carter had abandoned her when she got pregnant. She hadn't been his girlfriend, she'd been his fiancé. 5 years ago he left her 1 month before the wedding. And no explanation, just vanished. He blocked her number, moved cities, changed jobs. She found out through mutual friends that he'd gotten engaged to someone else within a year, and that relationship ended quietly. There were others. 2.1 woman had filed a restraining order after he refused to return her belongings. Another had posted anonymously on a support forum about being gaslit by a man who convinced everyone she was crazy. And then Lauren, she said when she gave birth, she tried to reach out. Carter ignored her completely. Her son was now 3, and Carter had never seen him, not once. When she showed up at the baby shower, it wasn't for revenge. It was desperation that she'd been evicted. Her job had cut her hours. And her son, Caleb, needed medical care she couldn't afford, so she'd gone to Carter for help. He told her, that's not my problem anymore. I got back to Emily's house and didn't even take off my coat. I just walked straight into the bathroom, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the tub, breathing heavy. What kind of man was I marrying? Who was Carter, really? The Carter I knew was kind, warm, charismatic. He made me laugh. He kissed my forehead every night before bed. He rubbed my feet when I was too tired to stand, but now I was seeing it, all of it, in high definition. He wasn't kind. He was calculated. Every kind gesture, every sweet word, they were part of the performance. A script. He did what he had to do to maintain the illusion of the perfect man, and I had fallen for it. Completely. I didn't sleep that night. My baby kicked more than usual, almost like she was restless, too, and in the stillness of 4 a.m., I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Carter, not yet, not until I had everything, because if there was one thing Carter couldn't stand, it was losing control, and I was about to take that control back. I started playing dumb. I smiled when Carter came home. I kissed him like nothing had changed. I let him touch my belly and talk to our baby in that sing-song voice he used when he thought I wasn't paying attention, but behind my smile, I was planning. Every second I spent in his presence now felt like being in a cage with a predator. Pretending not to bleed, I knew I had to be smart. If Carter sensed anything was off, he'd twist the narrative, make me the unstable one, the emotional pregnant fiancé, just like he had done to Lauren. And God knows how many others. So, I documented everything. I started recording our conversations. I installed a discreet camera in the living room and another in the hallway, just in case. I kept screenshots of texts, bank records, call logs. I even backed everything up to a drive hidden inside one of my tampon boxes. No way he'd ever look there. I also began reaching out. Lauren connected me with 2 more women. One was a nurse who dated Carter briefly, until she found out he was still living with another woman at the time. The other was younger, barely 22. He'd met her at a gym and love-bombed her for months, then ghosted her completely after she got into a car accident and needed help recovering. There was a clear pattern. He preyed on women who were vulnerable, lonely, hopeful, trusting. And when they became inconvenient, he disappeared until me, because I was carrying something he wanted. It wasn't love, it was legacy. Carter didn't care about the baby because he loved her, he cared because she validated him. The perfect man. Successful. Beautiful wife. New baby girl. He wanted to be admired. Envied, and I realized that was my leverage. I let him keep planning the wedding. I let him book a photographer. I pretended to gush over invitations. I even went wedding dress shopping with his mom, who, by the way, was shockingly cold for someone about to gain a grandchild. It all made sense now. This was a show, and he'd been performing his whole life, but I wasn't going to let him write the ending. I knew Carter craved one thing more than anything else: admiration. He loved being seen as successful, devoted, desirable. That's what made him dangerous. And that's what I was going to use against him. So I called in a favorite. My old college friend, Savannah, worked at a local lifestyle magazine that featured power couples in the city. I told her just enough to spark her curiosity, without spilling everything. She agreed to help me set the stage. We pitched it to Carter as a feature interview, a young couple building a life together, navigating love, success, and a baby on the way. Carter was thrilled. Of course he was. He spent 2 hours picking out his outfit. Got a haircut. Practiced smiling in the mirror. I could barely stand to look at him. The photo shoot was set for a chic local venue, somewhere with floor-to-ceiling windows and perfectly curated decor. Carter didn't suspect a thing, but I'd made one small adjustment. Instead of the real interview team, I had Savannah arrange a private videographer, someone who could capture everything live, including the surprise guest I had invited, Lauren. The day of the shoot, everything was staged like a dream. We posed holding hands. I wore a soft blue dress that hugged my belly just enough to remind everyone watching of the precious life inside me. Carter played the part, smiling, whispering sweet nothings, telling the camera how much he adored his future wife. I wanted to vomit. Then, right before we were about to wrap, the door opened, and there she was. Lauren stepped into the room like she owned it. Calm. Composed. Holding a manila envelope in one hand, and her phone in the other. Carter turned, saw her, and froze. I thought this was supposed to be a family shoot, she said, her voice like ice. Should I grab our son's photo for the background? Or maybe one of your other girlfriends can join too? Silence. You could hear the shutter of the camera still clicking. Carter tried to recover. What the hell are you doing here? Savannah stepped forward. We're live streaming this segment, by the way. It's part of a special project on deceptive relationships. Hope that's okay. I swear, the color drained from his face. Lauren didn't hold back. She pulled out text messages, voicemails, photos. She told the story of how Carter had abandoned their child, how he lied, manipulated, and ran when things got hard. I didn't say a word. I let the footage speak for itself. He tried to spin it, of course, called us jealous, dramatic, hormonal. But there was no walking away from the evidence. Everything was recorded, and everyone in the room, including the viewers online, saw who he really was. Afterward, I didn't speak to him again. I had my lawyer send a letter the next day. No contact. No access to the baby. No shared property. He could keep his money, his fake image, his broken trail of lies. I just wanted my freedom, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. I thought the drama would settle after that public confrontation. But I underestimated just how far Carter's web had spread. The live-streamed video went viral overnight. The headline? Expecting mother and ex confront serial cheater in shocking public reveal. It was all over TikTok, Reddit, even daytime talk shows. I got DMs from strangers thanking me for exposing him, and from others warning me he might retaliate. But Carter? He went silent. No calls. No angry texts. No threats. Just nothing. For a moment, it scared me. Silence from him was never a good sign. Then, 3 days later, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. An actual handwritten letter slid under my door like a ghost from the past. You humiliated me. You think you won. But you don't know everything. If you keep pushing, I'll make sure the truth about you gets out too. I stared at the words, shaking. What truth? What was he talking about? I went through every memory, every conversation, trying to figure out what skeletons he thought I had in my closet. And then, something clicked. There was something. Someone I hadn't thought about in years. Before Carter, before everything. I had been engaged once before. A man named Noah. He was kind, soft-spoken, and everything Carter wasn't. But I left him, abruptly, when I discovered something I thought I could never forgive. And I never looked back. But now, Carter was threatening to dig him up from my past. To twist the story. To use Noah as leverage. So I did what I always do when I feel the walls closing in. I faced it head-on. I found Noah's contact info. He still lived in Seattle. I messaged him, simple, direct, I know this is unexpected. But someone might try to use our past against me. Can we talk? He agreed to meet. We sat at a quiet cafe by the waterfront. It had been nearly 7 years. He looked older. Tired. But his eyes were still gentle. I heard about everything, he said quietly. I'm sorry you're going through it. I asked him point blank, is there anything Carter could use against me? Noah smiled softly. Only the truth. And the truth is, we both hurt each other. But I never stopped wishing you well. That moment, it broke something open in me. Not guilt. Not regret. Closure. Noah wasn't a threat. Carter had nothing. Just fear, noise, and desperation. And I wasn't going to let him drag me down. Anymore. A few days after meeting Noah, another letter arrived, but this one wasn't from Carter. The handwriting was different, neat, old-fashioned. It smelled faintly of lavender. Inside was a single page. Dear Eden, you don't know me, but I'm Carter's mother. I saw the video. I know everything. And I need to speak with you before it's too late. I owe you the truth about my son. And myself. That I stared at the signature. Margaret L. Wexler. Carter had told me his mother passed away years ago. He'd said it with such conviction that I never questioned it, but now? She was alive. And watching. We met the next afternoon at a small, overgrown garden behind a church on the edge of town. She looked nothing like I imagined. Elegant. Sharp blue eyes. A cane, but she stood tall. I lied to protect him, she said without waiting for pleasantries. I lied to everyone. She offered me a folder. It was full of hospital records, police reports, counselor evaluations. The story they told wasn't One of just a cheating husband. It was one of a boy who learned to lie before he could read. Carter had been in therapy since the age of 6. Diagnosed with conduct disorder. Multiple incidents of manipulation, compulsive lying, even cruelty toward animals. His father had left early. Margaret tried to raise him alone. But even she admitted, I became afraid of my own son. She said he never formed attachments. Every relationship was a game. A power play, and when he met me, he told me you were different. That you made him feel human. But when he realized he couldn't control you, he turned on you. My hands trembled holding the folder. Everything made sense now. The gaslighting. The double life. The coldness. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't paranoid, I was prey. But this wasn't just about closure anymore. Margaret grabbed my hand and said, I know you're carrying his child. I don't want my grandchild raised in fear. I'll help you, whatever you need. For the first time in months. I exhaled. The baby shower had already been rescheduled once, after the chaos with Carter. But now, with everything in the open, I decided to go through with it, not for me, for my baby. For the little girl who deserved a room full of love and laughter before she even arrived. My friends decorated the backyard with soft pastels and sunflowers, my favorite. There were cupcakes, a diaper cake, and even a guess the baby food game I had always secretly hated but smiled through. Anyway, people came. They hugged me tightly, like they finally knew what I'd survived, and then someone handed me a gift. It was small, wrapped in matte gold paper with no name tag. I didn't think much of it, until I opened it. Inside was a soft, hand-knitted blanket, the same pattern Carter's grandmother used to make, folded between the threads, a note in messy, rushed handwriting. You won't keep her from me. I froze, everything went silent around me. I stood up, heart pounding, eyes scanning the yard, but there was no sign of Carter. Just smiling guests and sunshine. I quietly excused myself and walked inside, locking the door behind me. When I opened the security camera app, I saw at the far edge of the footage, near the tree line, a figure in a black hoodie, standing perfectly still, watching Carter. I called Noah. He was there in minutes, but by the time he arrived, the figure was gone. The gift? No fingerprints. The camera? Too blurry to identify a face. I wanted to believe it was just a scare tactic, that Carter wouldn't dare go further, but deep down, I knew better. He wasn't finished. I didn't sleep that night. Every shadow outside my window looked like him. Every creak in the floorboards felt like a warning. But the worst part? The quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm. Noah insisted I stay at his place, but I refused. I wasn't going to let Carter chase me out of my own home again. Instead, I installed extra locks, reinforced the doors, and even bought a baseball bat to keep by my bed. It felt ridiculous, until it didn't. 3 nights later, I was alone. Noah was working late. The power flickered from the summer storm outside. I had just tucked myself into bed when I heard it. A tap. Then another. On the nursery window. I froze. Another tap. Then, the unmistakable creak of the back door. I had locked it. I knew I had to. I grabbed the bat and crept down the hallway, heart in my throat. That's when I saw him, Carter. Standing in the hallway, dripping from the rain, eyes wild. He looked thinner. Paler. Not like the man I used to love, like a ghost of him. You never told me, he whispered. You never told me she was mine. My grip tightened on the bat. She isn't, I lied. You lost that right. He stepped closer. You're lying. I saw the dates. I did the math. And what? You think you can just walk back into our lives after everything you did? His face twisted into something dark. Something I didn't recognize. She's mine. You don't get to raise her without me. That was it. I raised the bat, voice shaking. You take one more step, and I swear to God, he did. So I swung hard. He fell to the ground with a thud, clutching his shoulder. I didn't wait. I ran. Called the cops. Screamed into the phone. By the time they arrived, Carter was gone again. They found blood in the hallway. DNA confirmed it was his. They searched the area, but he'd vanished like smoke. A warrant went out. Photos were circulated. He was officially a fugitive, but it didn't matter, because he'd already gotten what he wanted. I didn't want to do the test. It felt like opening a door I had already closed, nailed shut, and pushed a dresser in front of, but Noah insisted. He needed to know. I needed to know, was Eden really his? Or had Carter been right? The kid arrived in a plain white envelope. I swabbed Eden's cheek while she giggled, unaware of the storm swirling around her little life. Then I mailed it, and waited. 2 weeks passed. Every day I checked the mailbox like a teenager waiting for college acceptance letters. Finally, the email came. My hands were shaking as I clicked the link. I could barely read the screen. The words were blurry, not because of the screen, but because of the tears pooling in my eyes. 99.99% match. Noah, not Carter. Noah. I let out a sound I hadn't made in years. A sob. Loud. Raw. From somewhere deep in my chest. Eden was Noah's. That meant she was safe. That meant Carter had no legal rights. No claim. Nothing. I forwarded the results to my lawyer immediately. We filed an emergency order to bar Carter from ever contacting Eden again. It was approved in 72 hours. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. Noah came home that night with takeout, 2 bottles of wine, and a tired smile. Well? He asked, standing in the doorway. I just handed him my phone. He read it. Blinked. And then pulled me into the tightest hug of my life. She's ours, he whispered into my hair. She's ours, I repeated, but just when we thought the nightmare was over, I got another package to no return address. No name. Inside was a single item, the same baby blanket from the shower, and a note, just 4 words, written in sharp black ink. You never told me. I stared at the blanket in my hands, my mind racing. You never told me. Those words clawed at something inside me. A memory I had buried. Was it from Carter, or, no? There was someone else I never told. A name I hadn't said out loud in 5 years. Vanessa. My former best friend, the woman who kissed my husband at our wedding, the one who disappeared the night I caught them. She had vanished. Changed her number. Deleted her social media. It was as if she had been erased. I had never told her I was pregnant. She had no idea I had a daughter. No idea about Eden. Or, did she? I flipped the blanket over. There, in the corner, was a tiny embroidered symbol. A violet. Vanessa's favorite flower. She used to sketch them on every notebook, every napkin, every card she ever gave me. This blanket wasn't a random item from the baby shower. It was hers. A chill ran down my spine. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I needed answers. I did what I swore I never would. I looked her up. It took hours, but I finally found a trail, a P.O. box in Vermont, linked to a freelance art account that hadn't posted since 2020. But it was hers. I booked a flight the next morning. Told Noah I needed to settle something from the past. He offered to come, but this was something I had to do alone. The flight was bumpy. My stomach churned the entire time, not from turbulence, but from the weight of what I might discover at the small town post office. I waited until someone opened the box. I followed them. A woman. Long coat. Sunglasses. Hair now jet black, but I knew that walk. That slouch in her left shoulder. That way she gripped her keys. Vanessa. She saw me before I could say anything. Her eyes widened. Then narrowed. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. Then tell me why you are. I snapped. Why you sent the blanket? Why now? She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away, but I followed. She led me into a quiet alley. Turned to face me. You don't get it, she said. I was trying to protect you. By sleeping with my husband? By warning you. Before it was too late. What are you talking about? I asked, voice shaking. She reached into her bag, pulled out a photograph. Of Carter. With a woman. Holding a baby. That's not Eden, she said. No, I whispered, heart pounding. Who is she? Vanessa looked around, leaned in close, and whispered a name I hadn't heard in years. Her name is Mara, and she's yours too. Asterisk. I didn't know what I'd find when I opened that dusty old storage unit. The lock creaked as I twisted the key. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the overwhelming swirl of emotions. Rage. Betrayal. Hope. Inside, rows of forgotten furniture and old boxes sat in silence, as if frozen in time. But in the back corner, I spotted a plastic bin. Marked personal, do not open. Of course, I opened it. Inside were old photo albums, journals, and a stack of legal envelopes. One was addressed to my daughter, for when she's ready. My breath caught. I ripped it open and pulled out a letter in Vanessa's handwriting. Dear Riley, if you're reading this, it means you've learned the truth, or at least enough of it. I'm sorry I never told you what really happened between me and your father. I was trying to protect you, but maybe I made things worse by staying silent. The truth is, Daniel and I weren't just friends before you were born. We were everything. Soulmates, I thought. But he betrayed me in a way I couldn't forgive. I left, and when I found out I was pregnant with you, I decided not to tell him. I didn't want you to grow up in the middle of our mess. But now that he's in your life again, I know you deserve the whole story. Please don't hate me. Just know, I always loved you more than anything. Love, Mom. I slumped to the floor. So, she did keep me from him. But he had betrayed her. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining the broken pieces between all of us, and still, none of this explained the weirdness around the gift at my baby shower. Or what Daniel had whispered that day. Or what he was hiding. I needed answers. And there was only one place left to go, Daniel. This time, I wasn't coming to him as a confused daughter, or a hurt woman. I was coming as someone who finally had power. When I walked into his office unannounced, his assistant tried to stop me. But one glare from me and she backed off. He looked up, startled. Riley? I tossed the letter onto his desk. I found the truth. Some of it, anyway. Now you're going to give me the rest. He looked at the envelope, and something in his eyes flickered. Pain, maybe. Regret. I never wanted you to find out this way. Too bad. Because now I want the whole truth. About Mom. About the past. About everything. Or I walk, and you never see me or your grandchild again. He leaned back in his chair, silent for a long moment, then finally, he said quietly, sit down. I'll tell you what you need to know. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the gift bag he had questioned at the baby shower. I still hadn't opened it. My mind had gone through 1,000 scenarios. Maybe it was from an ex. Maybe it was from someone he didn't trust. But a part of me knew, it was bigger than that. I reached for the gift bag, slowly pulling out the delicate tissue paper. Inside was a small knitted baby blanket. It was handmade, soft pink and white. No note. No card. Nothing. Then, a scent hit me. A faint perfume I hadn't worn in years, but someone else had. I held it close to my nose, and my chest tightened. Isabella, I whispered. Isabella was Daniel's ex-fiancée, the one he never talked about. The one he swore was a part of his past. She had disappeared from his life right before their wedding date. He never explained it, and I never pushed until now. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs and opened Daniel's laptop. He rarely used it, preferring his phone. But something told me I'd find something there. I guessed his password on the third try, Isabella 1120. My stomach turned. I searched through old files, documents, emails, and I found something. A folder titled, Never Open. Inside were pictures. Of him and Isabella. Of their life together. Of their baby shower. I froze. They had a baby shower. I clicked through the photos. There she was, Isabella. Glowing. Laughing, and then I saw it, the same baby blanket, exactly the same. My heart sank. I clicked deeper into the folders and found email drafts. Never sent, but all written to her, some dated recently. I still see you. In my dreams. You should have told me the truth. I can't forgive you, but I can't forget you either. Then one final draft from 2 weeks ago, I'm going to be a father again. She reminds me of you. I slammed the laptop shut, trembling. He was still in love with her. And worse. I was just a replacement and I waited until the next morning. Daniel came downstairs, groggy, rubbing his eyes. I had the laptop open, the blanket next to it. He stopped. Dead in his tracks. You lied to me, I said, my voice low. He didn't deny it. You said Isabella left. That she disappeared. That she broke your heart. But you were still in love with her this whole time. You still are. He sat down, holding his head. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. I cut him off. You never mourned her. You never moved on. And now you're having a baby with me while whispering her name in your sleep. His eyes widened. I hadn't meant to say that, but it slipped. I've heard you, Daniel. Every night. He looked defeated. It's not like that. She left because she was pregnant. And she didn't want the baby. I froze. What? She was pregnant, he said, voice cracking. She didn't tell me until it was too late. She gave the baby up for adoption. Said she wasn't ready. My mind reeled. So that blanket, I whispered, it's from our child, he replied. The one I never met. I backed away, hands trembling. So at our baby shower, when you saw the blanket, I thought she had come back, he admitted. Everything clicked. The whisper. The pale face. The silence as she sent the gift, didn't she? I asked. He nodded slowly. I don't know how she found us, but yes. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to wake up and find it was just a nightmare. But reality hit me in the face when I walked into our home one day and found Caleb sitting at the kitchen table with the woman from the baby shower. Yes. Her, the one who gave the mysterious gift. They both looked up when I walked in. Caleb's face paled, but hers? She smirked. Didn't expect me, did you? I said, trying to steady my voice even though my heart was pounding out of my chest. What are you doing here? Caleb stuttered. I live here, remember? Or did you forget while you were busy playing house with your friend? He stood up. It's not what you think. I laughed. Oh. You accidentally brought your affair partner to your wife's baby shower and she accidentally gave a gift meant to expose you? The woman, her name was Ashley, crossed her arms and said. Actually, he invited me. Said he was going to leave you soon anyway. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I turned to Caleb. Is that true? Were you going to leave me? He hesitated. Just for a second. But that second was everything. He didn't say no to that. Was my answer. I looked around our home, the one I had decorated, the one I thought we'd raise our baby in together. It suddenly felt foreign. Cold. I want you both out, I said. Now. Ashley scoffed. You don't own this place. I do, actually, I said with a shaky breath. It's in my name. You can check the deed. Caleb looked at me, shocked. I had secretly taken full ownership after we refinanced the mortgage last year. He had insisted I be the sole signer since my credit was better. That little detail just saved me. Ashley stormed out first, cursing under her breath. Caleb lingered. I never meant to hurt you, he whispered. You did anyway. He left, and I stood there, alone, in a silent house with a broken heart and a baby on the way. But something inside me shifted, the pain turned into purpose, and I knew, this wasn't the end, was just the beginning. The silence after they left was deafening. I walked through the house like a ghost, touching the edges of furniture we once picked out together. My fingers brushed over picture frames, our wedding photo, the sonogram, his birthday surprise party I had thrown just a year ago. All lies, but strangely, I didn't cry. Not then. I just breathed deep, grounding breaths. I wasn't going to let this man, or his mistress, break me. My child deserved better. I deserved better, and I was going to make sure we both got it. That night, I made a list, a real, pen on paper list. At the top, I wrote *, how to reclaim my life. talk to a lawyer, set up separate finances, start therapy again, join a support group, finish the nursery, my way to name the baby on my terms, tell my story. One day I didn't know what the future looked like. But I knew it wouldn't include Caleb. The next day, I had the locks changed. I blocked his number. Told his family the truth, not out of spite, but because I wouldn't let him control the narrative. His sister cried and said she had suspected something. His mother tried to excuse it. Typical, but I didn't argue. I wasn't there to debate, I was there to reclaim myself. I went back to work part-time. My boss, a kind woman named Janine, offered flexibility. Take care of yourself, she said. The rest can wait. She didn't know it, but those words saved me that week, and then, something unexpected happened. A DM, from her, Vanessa, *. I stared at the screen. Hi Isabella. I know. I'm the last person you want to hear from. But I need to say something. The message from Vanessa sat in my inbox like a ticking bomb. I hovered over it for minutes. Hours. My hands trembled. Part of me wanted to delete it and never look back. But another part, the part that needed closure, clicked it open. I didn't know he was married. I swear, I only found out at the baby shower, when I saw your name on the gifts. I thought I was the only one. I was pregnant too. My stomach flipped. What? I lost the baby a month before the party. He never even came to the hospital. Said he had meetings. Now I realize, he was with you. I'm so sorry. I dropped the phone. My pulse roared in my ears. Another baby? Another life ruined by Caleb. This man, he didn't just betray me. He shattered 2 women. 3 lives. 4, if you count the unborn child she lost. That night, I sat awake, thinking everything Vanessa wrote made sense. The guilt on her face. At the party. Her hesitation. The moment she touched my arm when I was crying in the bathroom. She wasn't the villain, *, she was just another pawn in Caleb's narcissistic game, I replied. I believe you. I'm sorry for your loss, you deserved better. So did I. Let's not let him define either of us. She wrote back within minutes, *, we talked all night, not as rivals, but as survivors, *, Vanessa and I met for coffee the next week. It was surreal at first. Sitting across from the woman I once thought destroyed my life. But as we spoke, really spoke, I saw the truth in her eyes. She was just like me, broken. Lied to. Used. We laughed. We cried. We pieced together timelines, realizing how masterfully Caleb had orchestrated his double life, and we made a pact. No more silence, I said. No more shame, she added. We weren't going to let Caleb walk away from this, smiling. Not after what he did to us. So we got to work. First, we contacted other women from his past, old friends, ex-girlfriends, business contacts, and the stories poured in. Manipulation, cheating, emotional abuse, lies stacked like bricks. One of them, a woman named Delilah, had almost married him but left just in time. Another had lent him money he never returned. The picture was clear now. Caleb was a predator in a suit. We gathered everything. Emails, texts, receipts, testimonies. Then we launched a blog. The Caleb Chronicles, one man. Many masks. Our truths. It went viral overnight. Women messaged us, thanking us for our bravery. Some shared their own stories of betrayal. Others found comfort knowing they weren't alone. Caleb tried to threaten us. He sent cease and desist letters, filed a defamation claim, but we had facts. Evidence. Witnesses. He didn't stand a chance. Meanwhile, Vanessa and I, we healed together. We joined support groups. Started volunteering with organizations that help women escape toxic relationships, and one night, as we were sitting by the river, watching the lights dance across the water, she turned to me and said, I never thought I'd find a friend through all this. I smiled, *, me neither. But I'm glad I did. We toasted with cheap coffee in paper cups. Healing. Sisterhood, * to freedom, *. A year passed. A whole year without Caleb. A year of rediscovery. Of breathing freely. Of remembering who I was before the lies. I moved into a cozy apartment near the lake, painted the walls soft green. Bought thrifted furniture. Adopted a cat named Luna. Life was simple, and for the first time in a long time, it was mine. Vanessa found love again, not the dizzying, too good to be true kind, but the slow, steady, kind-hearted kind. The kind that asks you how your day was and actually listens. I saw her laugh with her whole body again. She looked alive. We often joked that maybe Caleb had done us a favor by walking out. If he hadn't, we might still be trapped in the shadows of his lies. And as for Caleb, his business reputation crumbled. The blog made headlines, his exes came forward, his investors pulled out. He vanished from social media. Last I heard, he moved to another state, trying to rebuild under a different name, but ghosts follow you when the truth is out. One quiet afternoon, I stood by the lake, a warm breeze in my hair. I thought of the girl I used to be, the one who planned baby showers with love in her heart, the one who decorated nurseries and dreamed of family. She wasn't gone, she had just grown stronger, wiser, fierce. You made it, I whispered to her reflection. We made it. And I meant it, because my story didn't end with betrayal. It began there, and from the wreckage, I built a life I could finally call my own.